Alright, welcome everyone to the first episode of a new Let's Play I'm doing for Tyranny. I am going to get back to Mask of the Betrayer, I promise. It's just taking me a little while longer than I would have expected to play back up to the point where I was. And I'm going to be going on vacation in the next couple of days, so I wanted to have some episodes banked. But yeah, there's a lot to dig into in this, so let's get started and we can kind of talk about it as it goes. So I'll play on normal, because it's, it's pretty well balanced for that, I think. This is Tyranny, an Obsidian production. Supposedly, oh, here's stuff.
For over 400 years, the armies of Kairos the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus. The voices of Nerat, spymaster and archon of secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Chorus. With each battle, the Scarlet Chorus grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die. Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored. Though small in number, Kairos' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tyranny, the Adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kairos' minions. Tyranny brings Kairos' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kairos' armies came to our lands. How could we have known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands?
Alright. So, yeah, like I was saying, this is Tyranny. This is Obsidian's game where you play the bad guy. It's extremely difficult not to play a bad guy, and I don't know, I think they do a good job of making it really tough to kind of thread the line of being moral in the kind of traditional RPG playing sense. I'm going to be rolling up a Dandy Jars here. Dandy Jars being a name that the Neverwinter Nights 2 random name generator gave me once, and I liked it a lot. And I ended up using it for my Baldur's Gate 2 character that I took all the way through to the end, so... Dandy Jars is a bit of a staple around here. So let's see these voices.
Got it.
We won't be hearing from our character all that much.
I'm injured. Tired. Let's... Have a look here. To battle! You learn something every day.
It's almost tempting to have none.
That
I'll go
wasn't so hard.
aggressive. And we'll get a cool tattoo because tattoos are fucking rad in this game. Pick a nice portrait. And Dandy Jars is a ginger, so we get to decide our origin. Oh god, I really gotta talk. So yeah, this is Obsidian's evil game. It does a lot with that, and kind of has, I think, the most robust kind of series of checks against background and different skills and stuff like that of any game I've ever seen. It's kind of absurd how interconnected it is, but it's hard to see that before we start. So, maybe we're a guild apprentice. We're gonna be mage, so that might open some doors for us. We'll go with that. So, deeply proud of your intelligence, your parents always knew you were too smart for a life spent with your hands in the soil. Looking to secure a better future, your parents struck a bargain with the Seven Tree Guild, a small magical order willing to teach you letters, numbers, and magic if you proved capable. For several years, you learned much from the mages, mastering reading and writing faster than the rest, and eventually learned the basics of mystic theory and spellcraft. Your magical studies came to an abrupt halt when the Voices of Nerat, which we can already see, we can voice over that and get some information on him. So the Voice of Nerat is known in his official capacity as the Archon of Secrets. He's equal parts genius and madman. Rumors abound that he can steal the minds of others, though few, if any, are alive to confirm as much. The subjects of interrogation are never heard from again, and the Archon is able to recall the memories of his victims with startling accuracy. So my magical studies came to an abrupt halt when the Voices of Nerat deemed the guild a peacetime distraction that must be disbanded for the upcoming war, its mages assigned to proper armies. While your peers went on to other guilds, your mind was seen as too valuable to be wasted on the armies. Instead, your life was claimed by Tunon, Archon of Justice. And Tunon, the Adjudicator, is the Archon of Justice, ruler of the conquered realms and the arbiter of disputes, oldest of the Archons sent to conquer the Tiers. Tunon speaks with Kairos' authority, Kairos being the Overlord. His true appearance remains hidden behind an iron mask, the face of judgment. Tunon is an impartial, sober creature, wholly obsessed with justice and order. Though assumed to be a powerful combatant, Tunon rarely strays from his throne room, entrusting his court of fate-binders to act as his eyes and ears, as well as judges, juries, and executioners. So yeah, we'll say we were a guild apprentice. And I want some spells here. What do we got? Trench Fist, Atrophy. I'm gonna go for a training in shock spells. Because this honestly doesn't matter all that much. Like, it's a really base increase to certain stats and gives you a spell to start the game with, but you can very easily pick up spells and stuff. We'll kind of talk about how that all works. And then I think I want something in the way of support or debuff, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with vigor spells, so I can buff party members. Go with that, that's good. Oh, you have to make our banner. So let's find a cool logo. What would Dandy Jars do? Well, she's a god. In that in that Baldur's Gate playthrough, so it's hard to say. These rings. These seem nice. I want to change my banner color first. That looks nice. That's not so bad. 3 red rings on a teal field. And we're never going to be like down, up, and close with our character like this. It doesn't matter that much. Name? Dandy Jars. Attributes. Oh, I won't wait for that. I'm going to put some into quickness because that gives you better cooldowns. Wits is going to be magic strength. And then I don't think I'm going to put anything into might. It's for vigor spells. I don't know why that would matter that much, but We're just gonna put 14 into quickness and 14 into wits and call it that. We get to do a little bit of the individual skills, but how they level up after this is a little bit different. Let's put lore up to 45. Magic staff up to 40. I might do athletics because that one's harder to kind of, yeah, you know what, actually, because they're trainers. I haven't used trainers in this game before, but they are very good, supposedly, so I will use them this time around. Let's put this up to 40, okay. And we're going to do the conquest, which is how, selecting the conquest option will allow you to play through Kairos' conquest of the tiers, choosing how your character was involved in the invasion. This gives you the most control over the starting state of the game and how other factions will react to your character. So you're coming into the story of Tyranny with a history behind you. So this whole area that you're in has supposedly already been conquered to some degree over the last 2 years. You've been part of that. And now you get to decide kind of how exactly you were a part of it.
All the world has fallen to Kairos. And now the Overlord's eye is on the Tiers, our home. The last corner of the world free of Kairos' reign. 2 armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kairos a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kairos' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we Tiersmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the Tiers sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
Okay, so we see this map here is the Tiers. During the conquest, you will decide your character's actions during Kairos' invasion. Oh, we can see Kairos now. So yeah, let's read about Kairos, since they are important. Kairos is a name out of legend. For centuries, the Overlord has consolidated power, sending vast armies to swallow entire realms. The most powerful mystic the world has ever seen, Kairos can issue edicts, magical proclamations that level cities, spread pox, sunder the lands, or change the course of seasons. The Archons, masters of magic throughout the known world, bow to Kairos, and the Overlord readily destroys any Archons unwilling to kneel. These sorceresses and madmen lead the Overlord's armies in near-endless conquest. As the realms of the known world fall to the Overlord, these captured territories are divvied up amongst the Archons to manage. Able to deliver suffering and woe to every corner of Terratus without leaving the capital, few have seen the Overlord in person. Though Kairos' name is the single most recognized name in the world, only the Archons can say what the Overlord looks like. So yeah, we're deciding our actions during the invasion, shaping the world through which you will adventure over the course of the game. Each choice you make affects your character and how major factions of the Tiers respond to you. Your decisions matter. Choose wisely. So we're in year 1 of Kairos' conquest. We start with the taking of the Bastard City. Okay, so the Bastard City is named for its position between 2 realms, the Northern Empire and the Southern Tiers. We're operating in the Southern Tiers in this game. The Bastard City and its surrounding lands, known as the Bastard Tier, is a melting pot of cultures and a place of commerce and intrigue. The Tiersmen of the South view the Bastard City as a place of wealth and excess, but to people of the Northern Empire, the Bastard City is little more than a sprawling slum. Tunon the Adjudicator established his court in the Bastard City. From this foothold in the Tiers, he and his court of Fatebinders impose Kairos' laws upon the conquered land. Which is roughly what it said here. But its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kairos' military conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kairos' armies. Taking the city would send a message to the rest of the tiers. Kairos' will is insurmountable. So we have two different ways that, two different kind of events that we could be a part of. So let's look at infiltrating. History would remember the Gates of Judgment as the first battle of the conquest, but the real combat unfolded with advanced units of both armies preparing for the coming war. The Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus each had a plan to infiltrate the capital city. Which army did you join? And let's get some more information on the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus real quick. So the Disfavored are the elite legion of Kairos' army. They spearheaded the conquest of the Younger Realms, which I guess are the other realms that we don't really see. Finding themselves always outnumbered but never outclassed. Led by the steadfast and dutiful Graven Ash, whom they follow with obsessive devotion, they are committed to imposing their interpretation of order upon the relative lawlessness of the tiers. The Legion only tolerates Northerners in their ranks, priding themselves on their high standards and cultural purity. And the Scarlet Chorus is little more than a gang of thugs and their captive slaves. Rather than organize under commissioned officers, the Chorus follows a hierarchy seemingly ruled by whoever has the bravado to command and defend their position. At the head of this chaotic pecking order, the Archon of Secrets, better known as the Voices of Narad, treats the Scarlet Chorus as his personal army. The Scarlet Chorus often suffers tremendous losses after battle, only to swell in the aftermath when captured enemies and collateral prisoners are given the cruel opportunity to join or die. So we see who we kind of help. I will say that I am kind of going... You kind of have the option to side with one or the other of the Disfavored of the Scarlet Chorus over the course of the game. I am going to do neither. I'm going to kind of strike out on my own. And to do that, I'm going to kind of screw them over each equally in different ways over the course of the conquest. So I don't want to go with the Scarlet Chorus conscripting every able-bodied man and woman into the army. Let's see, the Disfavored captured a border garrison, which I am happy to help out with. So the Oathbound Scouts identified a modest border defense and collaborated on an organized attack that would leave the enemy uncoordinated and cut off from aid. You oversaw the preparations and offered your opinions on the strategy when the clashing of swords and spears fell to silence, followed by the cheering of Disfavored scouts. You were the least surprised. Okay, this one's Inside Agent. You found an ally within the city to prepare the way for the approaching armies. Or Containing the Fire. The Bastard City's resident fire mages threatened the first leg of the conquest. Kairos' forces put a stop to their unchecked power. So your fiercest opponents Your fiercest opponents in the Bastard City were the mages of the School of Wild Wrath. Too barbaric to use their power responsibly, the unbridled practitioners needed to be stopped. How did you trick the hot-tempered mages into their own undoing? So if I side with the Disfavored, we would lure the hot-headed mages into an ambush. But if you go with the Scarlet Chorus, you trick the Guild Elders into meeting with the Voices of Narad, and then he interrogates them and they're never heard from again. So I'm gonna I'll go with the Voices of Narad. There were few who could describe what horrors the Archon of Secrets visited upon his enemies during the conquest. Whether the Elder Mages knew little of the Archon's reputation or met with him out of curiosity didn't matter. Once the flap of the Archon's tent closed, none of them were heard from again, save for a strangled cry of alarm that ended just as swiftly. Leaderless, the School of Wild Wrath fell into disorder, and their remaining members were slain by the disfavored or conscripted into the Scarlet Chorus. Betrayal of the Bastard City. Your tactics of infiltration placed you in the Bastard City ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city defenses for the arrival of Kairos' forces, but you wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How did you assist in the fall of the Bastard City? So if I'm going disfavored, I could challenge the commander to an honorable fight to the death. If I want to do the Scarlet Chorus way, I would convert the poor and disaffected into a hidden army of Kairos to kind of use as sleeper cells. Or, kind of the most neutral one is keeping to the shadows. You eliminate the leaders of the Bastard City one by one. I think I'm gonna do that one. See, you actually get abilities also for doing some of these things. So like my work with the disfavored in this outcome leads to me having an ability to kind of shrug off damage and regenerate health. Oh, sorry, my damage gets reduced, but I regenerate health rapidly. The Scarlet Chorus one just gives me the basic fire spell, which is nothing special. And then the Assassination one gives me an ability to kind of... so there's kind of a way that hits work in this game. It's not quite D&D rules, where you have like critical hits. Obviously you have regular hits, but you also have grazes, so like things that do just a minimal amount of damage. So this one would make enemies miss me more, but my attacks would be less effective, and I can use it once per encounter. So I'm going to go with this one. It can come in handy. Some deaths were quiet and unnoticed, while others were gruesome beyond words. As a wave of murder overtook the city's elite, your deeds swelled in infamy. Well before the armies arrived, no one in the Bastard City felt safe in their homes, much less behind their walls. By the time Kairos' force crested the horizon, the city was fearful enough to throw open its gates and welcome their new protectors. Okay, so that's the first part of the conquest. Yeah, this is definitely going to take up the rest of this episode at least. Let's see. So the Bastard City settled into a new state of normalcy, with every tower displaying Kairos' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into two fronts and migrated south. Tunon sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kairos' conquest, either as judge and overseer of the settlement of Lethian's Crossing, or as a war advisor within the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. So I get to choose which of these. So Lethian's Crossing, deposits of iron made the settlement of Lethian's Crossing a strategic war asset. Kairos sent the Forgebound, smith mages of exceptional skill, to establish a flow of weaponry. Tunon the Adjudicator sent one of his Fate Binders to ensure the enforcement of Kairos' law. Orahiora Apex. The troops of the mountain realm of Apex stood idle in the safety of their valley, biding their time as their neighbors in the Bastard City fell. In the second year of the war, a joint force of disfavored and Scarlet Chorus crossed over the mountains to take control of the Tyr Central Valley. So let's go do that. So this is the second year of the conquest. Alright. The mountain nation of Apex, ruled for generations by the queens of House Vendrian, stood at the heart of the Tiers. No army could bypass the landlocked realm without leaving their flank exposed to attack. By the second year of the war, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus had pushed deep into the Tiers. Elements of both armies were dispatched to conquer Apex. Tunon assigned you to accompany them, tasked with bringing Kairos' law to the territory, as well as keeping an eye on both armies. So the Archon of Stone's assault was perhaps too successful, or a new school of mages present problems and opportunities. I'm going to look at this new school of mages. Let's see. A school of water mages, loyal to the Tiersmen, posed a substantial threat. The Disfavored wished to annihilate the school, while the Scarlet Chorus insisted on capturing the mages, wishing to learn their craft. So, siding with the Disfavored would kill the mages. Siding with the Scarlet Chorus would keep them alive. So I'm going to take them captive for interrogation. Though countless lives were lost taking the mages into custody, the Scarlet Chorus praised your name as they dragged the beaten elders of the school to the voices of Nerat's tent. As a wave of screams and incoherent pleas reached their crescendo, the Scarlet Chorus soldiers outside cheered for their Archon. The Disfavored adjourned to their camp in grim silence, claiming the chorus lacked the will and desire to fully wipe out all traces of the enemy school. Poisoning the well. Hoping to break the siege, the Scarlet Chorus agents poisoned the Apex water supply in secret. Days later, uninformed Disfavored scouts died of illness. Outraged by the failure of communication, the Disfavored demanded that the Chorus agents be turned over to them for punishment. And I will uphold those charges. The Scarlet Chorus protested the sanctioning of a beloved military tradition. Within weeks of hauling wagons, filling graves, and digging latrines, the saboteurs fell sick themselves, dying of unattended wasting diseases likely picked up from moving putrid bodies. The Disfavored called it a fitting justice, and congratulated themselves on squeezing some honest labor out of the miserable wretches. Fall of Apex. After many spans of battles, the army of Apex finally agreed to peace talks. The Queen herself agreed to attend a negotiation summit and invited a representative of Tunon to discuss the possible terms. How did you negotiate the enemy's surrender? Let's see. So, the Disfavored way is through days of mediation, you negotiated the surrender of the valley to Kairos' forces, putting an end to further bloodshed. Or we could taunt the Queen of Apex into striking you under a banner of truce. You bait her into a duel and slay her, frightening her vassals into submission. So... I don't think I've spared the Queen before. We're going to try that. Your former enemies were loath to part with their lands, but they were even more reluctant to continue a war they were losing at every turn. The Tiersmen are a stubborn lot, and despite their grim situation, it still took days of discussion and diplomacy to show them the madness of tenacity. On the third day of mediation, the rulers of Apex finally submit to your terms of surrender, putting an end to the war in the valley and freeing up Kairos' forces to march further into the Tiers. Alright, so that's year 2, and now we have a third choice. The land of Apex finally rested in the hands of Kairos' forces. The Scarlet Chorus paused to revel in victory while the Disfavored prepared for the next fight, affording themselves but an evening's rest. Kairos' armies radiated out from the conquered citadel and worked their way across the Tiers. The Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus aimed to dominate as much territory as possible in the coming year. Your distinguished reputation in Kairos' military left the choice of your next destination yours to make. So we could go to Azure. It says, Kairos dispatched the Archon of Stone to subjugate the nation of Azure. With its easily defended position and rich military tradition, the realm of Stalwart was the most formidable realm in the Tiers. Or, Kairos' conquering gaze fell upon the Vellum Citadel, its treasures, its knowledge, its secrets. And we're going to do that one. Okay. So the Vellum Citadel was an archive and library of massive scale. Actually, you know what? I'm going to call it here for this episode, and we'll pick right back up here. And yeah, next episode we will get out of Conquest and actually get to the game. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye.